that there are more trickling in. Why don't I get started, right? And by introducing the topic, and let's go. Hope you guys see a presentation.
Yes, we can see.
This is not going to be, by the way, a presentation kind of session, right? So while Arushi very beautifully introduced me, yes, I work in the corporate strategy and development of world's largest IT infrastructure service provider, which is called Kyndrl. And at the same, as part of my work, I am currently focused on the entire portfolio of the organization, their growth, application, AI, and innovation. What I'm also is a mother of a 9-year-old inquisitive kid. Okay. So in today's session, we will definitely cover this exciting topic of strategy for AI. And my sincere attempt, will be to share my thoughts, my approaches on building scalable and sustainable AI solutions for yourself, for your organization. So as I said, there will be a couple of slides for us, which will support and guide this conversation. And I will request the audience to please turn on your camera. It's always good to interact with people rather than just talking to a screen. Okay, and I will highly appreciate if you can start dropping in your names, your city, your organization in the chat. As they say, it's good to know your audience. Okay, while you do that, I'll keep an eye on the chat. But Arushi and I spoke about this topic extensively on what to bring to the audience here. And I also reflected a lot on those moments which, during my career, which helped me hone the strategic bend of mind to look at long-term sustainable solutions in the market, which will bring profitability not just to my organization, but great value to the customer. And while I was going through that, to my surprise, it wasn't the professional experience that brought me to it. One specific thing that stood out is me reading those bedtime stories to my son. So back in the days when I was doing that with my 3, 4-year-old son, I thought that was my opportunity to tell him how to develop his reading skills, his vocabulary, his entire thought process. But I realized much later that he helped me think differently. He helped me to question the common assumptions that we usually make and go with. He questioned, why are giants bad? Are giants always supposed to be bad? Let me ask you, is AI intelligent? Why? Why do we think that? Will success come if we keep investing our effort and money into it? Any topic. Why would that happen? And if these similar questions has crossed your mind, then just give me a thumbs up, because then you're already a leader who is thinking in the right direction. Okay, so how many of you recognize this image on the screen? Just put that on the chat. It's a camera. It's a digital camera, codec camera. Are you all familiar with the codec story? Okay, Kyndrl. Thank you, Hina. Thank you for joining from Bangalore, Anupama, Hyderabad, Ruby, Mumbai. Thank you so much for joining in. Great to see all of you. Yeah, so it is a camera for sure. No points for guessing that. It's evident. But what kind of camera is it? Any thoughts on that? It's that old school film based. Absolutely, Madhvi, spot on, right? So that's the old school film based camera, and I'm calling it old school right now. So I would like to take us back to that Kodak story, just to give you an example of why we should start questioning the common assumptions. So Kodak was formed in 1860s. It was basically a chemical company, and it discovered that applying chemicals on paper produces picture. That's what they did. and they ruled the market of photography for almost 100 years with that. But are they the photography leader today? No. Why? Why are they not the leader? Probably because digital cameras took over. Absolutely. So, anybody who knows who has the credit of inventing digital photography? Failed to adapt? Great, Ruby. Yes, absolutely right. You know, the one Sony, the one who did actually invented digital photography is Steven Sasson. He discovered and created a lot of these things, and he created the first self-contained digital camera in 1975, and he worked for Kodak. Yes. And they took that opportunity and ran with it. Yeah, we know the digital camera. We have the strength in the photography business. Let's create digital camera and boost our business in films, in print business, and develop that. But over the years, how many of us have taken our digital camera to the Kodak print shop and got the pictures printed? Automatically the consumer market shrinked, right? We are not doing that anymore, not in a while. We are not doing that anymore at all. The consumer market of printed photography has shrinked. And then Steve Jobs came in, he brought the phone, music, camera all together, and that made film and photo printing a business, a legacy business of consumer market. We don't do that anymore. Had Kodak asked the question that, and they questioned their basic assumption that photos are always on paper, maybe things would have been different for them. So our job as leaders, as technology leaders, business leaders, and Anupama, you rightly said, right? Now cameras are critical parts of every walk of life, right? But how, if we can see, assess what the market trends are, we can identify appropriate opportunities, also threats that exist in the market. We get an understanding of what our customer wants, then that gives us strategic direction of where we want to go. Now, let me just not talk about digital cameras or codec, right? Let's come back to the topic of AI. While codec was an example of how the industry of photography was actually disrupted by phones, which nobody expected. It was the phones who disrupted that, the digital phones who disrupted that. Let's come back to focusing on AI. If I talk about our sobering reality of AI today, much like any other digital transformation projects, by HBR, by Gartner, you read any analysis, more than 80% of the AI projects are failing. Hardly 25% of these projects ever make into production readiness. And when you go into the root cause, it's not the technical failure, it's the strategic misalignment. So the core message that I want to give with the Kodak example and these numbers is strategic thinking is very crucial, not just for AI, but any business solution or service that you want to roll out in the market to make it more meaningful. Okay, so what you're looking at my screen, this is my approach, which I'm fairly confident about, but there are multiple approaches through which we can start gaining the understanding of how we can make our AI projects, solutions more scalable and more strategic, long-term growth based. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is sharing this framework, and it's a combination of a lot of these. While I walk you through these, if you have any questions, please keep putting that on the chat, and I'll take that towards the end as we walk through this. So we will start from the left and go towards the right. Uh, as in the example of Kodak, or take the example of Motorola, Nokia, any of these, we need to start by two things. One, gaining better understanding of the market. And second, that you see on the bottom, on the left, is internal situation analysis. Let me take a second to help understand what market trends would mean. Market trends would mean that we have good understanding of what are the major market trends politically, economically, sociologically, technologically, environmentally, and legal. This is not something that I'm coining new. It is an existing framework and quite an old one. It's called PESTEL, PESTEL. Okay. So when you go through this entire political, economic, sociological, technology, environment, and legal understanding of trends, for example, AI is something very evident. And most of us would know that AI requires a lot of compute consumption. So if the compute consumption goes high, the data centers have to use a lot of water in order to keep the data centers cool. And if I can throw in an example that I was reading in the study of from University of Illinois, Champaign and Urbana, they clearly stated that by 2027, the data center, AI-based consumption from the data center will consume almost half the water that's required by the US in an sorry UK in an annual basis. So we need to think through multiple directions on how would us bringing in AI or any of the solutions would impact, and how these trends of political, economic, sociological, technology, environment, and legal will impact the solution I'm going to propose in the market. Okay. Second thing that we need to look at while we do the market trend analysis is competitive awareness and market attractiveness. What are my competitors? Who are my competitors? What are they offering to the market? And what, not just stop at what are they offering to the market, but what value are they bringing to the customer? Understand that. What is attracting more market, more customer towards that value proposition which my competitions are providing? And one common pitfall that we actually fall into when we do the competitive analysis is we take the major names who are the market leaders and then try to assess our services against those leaders. What I would say is often it is not the same industry which disrupts your industry and your market. The disruption comes from other markets, right? So start looking at the smaller non-direct competitors as well. Throwing a quick example, what happened to banking sector? We all used to go to banks, fill in the slips, get the money, then came the ATM, then came the smaller digital finances, right? Those smaller digital finances ate up everything that banks used to do. And now they have merged, joined hands to evolve their entire business model of digital banking and a lot around this. Absolutely, Kinjal. The net banking has now, back in the days, I remember if I used to do an online transaction, I used to pay higher incentive to the bank because I'm making an online transactions, and there used to be caps on the online transactions. Now it's the other way around. If you go walk into the bank for the transaction, they'll charge you for a premium. Making online transactions is more encouraged by them, right? So that entire business model has changed. So, going back to the point that when you're doing your competitive analysis, do not just look at your direct competitors who are the market leaders, but also look at the smaller ones which can disrupt the way you work. So, that's a quick note on the market trends. Let's come to the internal situation analysis. When I say that, always do a SWOT analysis. Probably a cliche word, you might have heard of SWOT multiple times, but be very aware of what your strengths are in the AI business, what your weaknesses are in the AI business. Not just look at opportunity like Kodak did, that this is my opportunity, but also look at the threats. Bring all of this together and very logically look at that against your competitors, where the maturity level and readiness of your competitors are high against my strength, where the readiness and competitor of readiness is high of the competitors against my weakness. Do that analysis and draw a 2 by 2. When you draw the 2 by 2, you would want to place what are the areas. So imagine your x-axis and your y-axis. Your x-axis is talking about where I'm building more money or getting better ROI, and y-axis is where the market is going towards. Okay, so that will tell me that my area of competence and confidence is where I'm making more money as well as the demand is high. And then you would also find the quadrant, which is the fourth quadrant, where I am putting a lot of money, probably my readiness is less, and the market demand is also less. So be strategic about those investments and those efforts to be taken out. Cut them out so that you can focus more on building your strength area. You can focus more on building on what market demands. That's one thing which we often don't do. And I'll take an example of and this is a borrowed example that I get from a professor from Columbia University that I attended. Um, he gave me an example that he had a garden in his balcony, and his wife had a garden in the just adjacent balcony next to their room. All the flowers and plants in his balcony continued to wilt, whereas the same plants, the same flowers were growing and thriving in his wife's balcony. He observed that for quite few months and then finally asked his wife, what is the difference? I also water it at the same amount. You, in fact, you water my plants at times. You put all the fertilizers. Why is your garden thriving more than the garden in my office balcony? The answer was very simple. You're not weeding out the drying leaves. You're not weeding out the wilted leaves. Unless you weed out the wilted, drying leaves, they will continue to consume all the fertilizers, all the water, all the energy that is needed to revive, which will eat away from the thriving leaves and the flowers that are needed to grow. Yeah, so it's important piece as part of strategy because we are only working with constrained number of investment, constrained number of resources, that we ensure that we focus only in the direction where we need to grow. Okay, so with that, let me now move to the center part, which talks about understanding and establishing a very common understanding of the customers that we are going after. When I say that common understanding is a key word, no, you do not have to just understand that this is my target customer, but you have to ensure that everybody understands and orient themselves on what my target customer base is. These use cases that I'm talking about could be for my internal customer. For example, if some of you are working in the COO organization of any company, then you would probably want to bring in CO or let's say CIO organization. You may want to bring in a use case of ensuring that the employees working in your organizations get the digital AI-based support for quick helps. Okay, or if you are working for building a customer use case, probably you are also building a faster payment solution for the customer using AI. For any of these use cases, whether it's for internal organization or for external organization, you should apply this methodology and ensure that a common understanding of the target customer is established. um, let's let me tell you that when you establish the common understanding of the target customer, you need to answer three questions very clearly for your organization. First, which customer will you serve? And when I say that, which customer would you serve? It could be the industry or a specific segment of the industry. It could be an enterprise. It could be an SMB. It could be a small business, any of those. Okay. Establish that on which customer you're going to serve. Second is, which arena are you going to play in? What are you going to compete in? Are you going to compete in the arena where your strength lies versus your competitors to bring better value? Or are you going to play in an arena which is absolutely new, blue sky? And both the answers are right. Let me tell you that. But you need to clearly define and form a common understanding of the arena that you want to compete in. And AI example, if I can give you, would you want to bring in Gen AI based solution for an insurance customer to help them process the loans faster, automating their document review, identifying the risks and insights. Or it could be an agentic AI based healthcare solution. It could be the agents talking to each other to bring their daily health stats, combining a patient's hospital's prescription and bill and saying, Mr. Customer, Mr. Person, I am reviewing your history and I think you need to reduce your sugar consumption. Otherwise, you would be spending 2.3 lakhs in the next 1 year on your healthcare. It could be any of those use cases. But you need to decide whether it's the healthcare, SMB arena, where my strength is in agentic AI and that's what I'm going to play on, or it is Gen AI where I have better maturity and I'm going to play in that area. So, very logically, choose the arena that you want to compete in, understand the customer you want to serve. And third and most important point is what is the value that you're going to offer? When I say what is the value you're going to offer, let me go back to the example of insurance using GenAI. You're reducing the cycle time of processing the loan or insurance amount um, to, let's say, from 6 hours to 1 hour. Value you're providing to the end customer is reducing the cycle time. To your exact customer is processing faster and reducing the operational overheads. Value is clearly defined there. Go ahead. If you're not able to put your finger on the value, that means you still need to go back and work on what are you offering to the customer. Okay. Next step, once you have done that, define your winning proposition. When I say define your winning proposition, always bring back the 2x2 metrics. And probably you will hear that from most of the consultant, the 2x2 metrics, where you understand. Now, this is where you're going back to the SWOT analysis of your organization that you have done. In which area I'm ready in? Am I ready in agentic AI? Am I ready in general AI? Am I ready in generative AI? What are the areas of readiness? What are the use case? And when I say this is very broad terms, right? So am I ready in agentic AI to do workflow and process automation? Am I ready in Gen AI to just provide chat support to the employees? What are the areas that I'm more confident and ready on? Then go after those industry or market segments where the demand is more for your readiness. Okay. And you, when I'm talking about this market and readiness, you would want to then create a maturity cycle that in year one, if I play in this quadrant where my readiness is high and market is more, I probably would get a better landing in the market with my solution. Then eventually bring the fund, the investment, the effort that you need to start spending in where I need to mature, where the market also demands high and I have enough demand and supply built in from my end as well in order to propose the solutions in this quadrant. So that's how you start defining your winning proposition. And a critical piece, which should be answered by your winning proposition during that entire maturity curve, everything that you're going to offer is very clearly, it should answer what value will I bring to the customer? How will I draw superior profitability for my organization? Both the questions must be answered. Any term that caught your thoughts so far, feel free to put that on the chat. Okay, so will you use, let me ask you this question, will you all use AI to answer all of these questions and set your strategic AI direction? Yes, no, maybe 50%? Yeah, yeah. We may fall back on market research. I probably will fall back on AI and get all the market data, probably do some level of competitive research on their products for the market. Hina, absolutely right. Step one. Any other thoughts? What else can AI help us with? Yeah, initial research. Okay, great. All right. So We saw competitors analysis absolutely. So far we saw that why strategic thinking is important. Otherwise, it's just a short-term gain and not a long-term sustainable solution of AI. We also, right now on the slide, saw what needs to be done in order to actually gain strategic insight. Now let me give you an example. There are hows can be answered in many ways, right? But I'll give you an example of how. And this is something that I've borrowed from HFS, the most simplest framework that HFS has brought in. But before we go there, while you would definitely use AI, I'll fall back on the very first question that I asked at the introduction. Why do you think AI is intelligent? Now, this is questioning the basic assumption. We go with the assumption that AI is intelligent. Is it? Okay, let's do a quick test of that. Um, Please put your answers in the chat and listen to this question very carefully. I'm going to ask you a very basic question. It's a puzzle that we often ask in any common gathering to our kids. The question is, I hope you're ready, or you want to open your chat GPTs, Geminis, um, copilots, feel free to use them. Question is, what is full of holes but still holds water? Anybody can answer that? I'll repeat the question. What is full of holes but still holds water? Karen says sponge. Madhvi says human. Interesting. What is your Gen AI tools telling you? You can open your chat GPTs, Geminis, copilots. Ask the question, what is full of holes but still holds water? What does it reply? Ha! Ruby, absolutely. See, that's the sense of humor I do not think that any Gen AI tool will give you. Okay, so what's your chat GPT telling us? Is it sponge? Okay, I'll change. I'll change. It is an absorbent. It's a sponge. Okay. I would request, yes, sponge, right? Right, Deblina. So let's try to fool our chat GPTs and generative AIs, or whichever tool you're using. Ask them the same question, but slightly differently. This time you ask, what is full of holes but still holds air? What does your generative AI respond? What is full of holes but still holds air? Amazing responses there. So a tire. Tire is not full of holes. Lungs. Okay. A net. A balloon is not full of holes. Is your generative AI giving you the right answer? My mind. So you do this experiment, right? When you go through your generative AI, it will still respond. When you actually do that exactly question, it will still respond sponge. It will still say sponge is full of holes and holds air. Why is it not saying nostrils? Balloons doesn't is not full of holes, right? Yeah, it's not answering, because what these generative AI or AI tools are doing is they are definitely a very brainy neuron based softwares which are still going through the data and the gamut of data and information that we provide to them. Nobody has asked this question to them earlier, so they really don't know how to answer it. So absolutely. So this is where I'm saying ask the assumptions, basic assumptions, question them. Why is that true? AI, is it intelligent? Why do we think AI is intelligent? We need to ask that very carefully. Now that we have established that there needs to be a very clear line drawn between when we involve human versus when we involve AI. Let's go to very basics of how, right? When we are trying to establish which use case would work for us in the market, just go through this simple test that's on your screen right now. If you're thinking of using AI for your day-to-day repetitive task to bring in automation, ask a very tactical question. Does this task benefit from reduced human interaction? And for a long-term scalable, also ask, will the autonomy add efficiency or risk? So I can't let my 9-year-old write balloon in the answer to that question, right? I need to ensure that I get the right answer. Similarly, you have to look at it from these five aspects of any use cases. Autonomy, if you're thinking of an automation, which most of AI solutions are around today. Governance, what level of data as well as AI governance I need to bring in? How will I bring human in the loop? Where do I need oversight? Context. How would I provide context? Because AIs are used to do real time data processing, understand how the workflows work. You need to ensure that your organization is ready to give them that rich data. Your solution is ready and supported by mature workflows as well as data and infra to provide that context all the time. Reasoning. If I put a agentic AI ecosystem, does it fit into my matured workflow, which at every step can reason and then intelligently understand what is the next step I need to go towards? While that gets answered, you also need to answer in the longer term, what is the cost of the benefit, the ROI in deploying this? And last, and the most important piece, which mostly all the government and regulatory organizations are after, is explainability or trackability. How is the thinking happening? How is the decision being made? What is the outcome? How does the outcome then takes an action? We need to be very clear on trackability. And in the longer term, for the benefit of the entire organization, we need to very clearly establish the accountability and the compliance. It should be demonstrated that this is what the agentic AI or agents or any AI solution is responsible for. This is where the human comes into picture, and how are we complying to the basic regulations and policies formed around it. Those are very basic things that we'll have to ask whenever we, especially around AI, when we bring this solution to the fore. Okay, so just for fun, now let me, do you see this dinosaur versus cockroaches? So when we are building a solution, we need to also think through how robust our solution is, how strong our solution is, like a dinosaur, how big our solution is, how many areas of workflows is it going to address, how many users is going to impact, and make it huge like a dinosaur, which lives up to more than average of any lifetime of a company today for hundreds of years. Or do you want a cockroach which survives any meteoric strike on Earth? You would go with dinosaur? S8999 wants to go with dinosaur. And there is cockroach, which can be killed, or it can always become adaptable and more relevant. You need to change with, absolutely right there, Ruby. Being adaptable and relevant is important. And when I say being adaptable, you need to evolve with the exercise that I told you here. with the market trends, with the threats, with the opportunities that are thrown by the market demands, the customer demands keeps on evolving. You need to keep evolving yourself, and this is not a one-time activity that you would do for your AI solution. This is something that you would bring in time and again to ensure that you are on track while you're implementing a solution as well on what needs to change. Hence, it's extremely important that we keep adapting and evolving. And while we are very intelligently looking at the opportunities and the threats that exist in the market. So, for an AI, what does this mean? For any AI solution, what it actually means is very basic three things. And this is what probably you can apply in any AI solution. First, the workflow, or let me say the process maturity. Is your process workflow mature enough to be replaced by an AI solution? Second, data quality. Garbage in, garbage out, very cliche term, but it's 100% true. You really can't feed a poor quality data into AI, which then takes an action based on the decision of this poor quality data, takes an action, and then it further keeps on implicating the challenges that is down the line and pouring the experience of your end customer, right? So the data quality and it's continuous data quality management. Otherwise, your entire AI ecosystem will keep hallucinating. It will keep making poor decisions and giving you poor outputs. So data quality is not something that we can compromise with, especially when we are talking about not a POC or a specific test we wanted to do, but scale your solution. Data quality is should not be compromised. Third, infrastructure. Is your infrastructure ready to support the scale? And when I talk about infrastructure, think of compute, think of network, think of security and governance. How are you going to achieve that? All these three things are extremely important in from the infrastructure layer. So how are you going to provide the compute power it's required? How are you going to ensure that network, whether, and totally depends on your use case that you're going after, right? If it requires edge solutions, how can I bring in the edge solutions and connect it through the network? Is my network strong enough to give continuous real-time feedback to the agents for them to learn? An important piece that I missed on this is storage. Storage is an extremely important part for developing AI based solution in the long term larger scale solution. You need to very intelligently design the storage solution. Not everything needs to be retrieved from a large storage existing in the data center, but you can build in the near memory layers where the sorries and thank yous and those basic things can happen just based on retrieval from the nearshore databases, the nearshore memories that you have, right? So think of these things carefully when your infrastructure is designed. And as I said, data quality is important. We cannot compromise that. Keep doing continuous check. It's not, again, just one time check of the data quality. The data quality keeps drifting. So a continuous data quality mechanism needs to be built in, and process maturity. These three things, all powered by governance and security. Security needs to be built into your solution. Okay, so having said that, that's where I would say will give you a very robust mechanism and structure to build in an adaptable solution rather than a dinosaur or a baby dinosaur if you're doing a POC. So these were the key things that I wanted to bring to all of you today. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you have any questions, would like to take them. I'll stop sharing and see if there are questions. Yes, all businesses, thank you so much, Kyndrl. All businesses should learn to be dynamic and adapt as the tide changes. Very true. And if I can give you a quick stat, sorry, a bad trait from my work, right? I keep on looking at stats all the time. The average span of any organization has reduced significantly. Like in 1990s, probably if the average organization would easily work for 25 years or more than that before they get acquired or they get shut down, now it has gone down to on an average of just 15 to 17 years. So we have to keep up with the evolution, not just in the technology, but also how customer wants to consume something. What is the value they want to take? Very good point there, Kinjal. Any other thoughts? Okay, great. Uh, Thank you so much, Ruby. You have made some very interesting points as well. The potholes on the road is not something that I thought of. Okay, question is, what has been your experience in building new AI systems? Would love to hear the data models, cost, etc. So, Anupama, this is going to vary significantly based on the use case of the solution that you are preparing. So would love to take that one-on-one if you are happy to share the use cases as well. Largely, if I want to generically answer on my experience in building new AI system, uh, one thing that I'll swear by is be sure of your data quality. If and continuously keep ensuring that your observability is strong on the data lineage. If that is strong, responsible AI models come along with it. And that's the key for us to ensure that we're building a robust AI system. Yeah. Okay. Uh, any other thoughts, questions?
Well, folks,
Great.
so much, Neha. I think that was absolutely wonderful. Like people have said in the chat, I think this was a fantastic session. I absolutely love all the interaction that went on. If you have any questions, I think we have another 5-10 minutes for you all to
Yeah.
bring your questions. Neha, if it's okay, I can also share your LinkedIn if they want to reach out to you one on one.
Happy to do that. Yes, please.
So I'll just put it in
Yeah.
the chat.
Thank you so much, Arushi.
Yes. Oh,
Okay. I had lovely interactions with all the audience as well here.
okay. Maybe one use case.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm thinking of which use case would work for us. You would want to go with a use case. Let's say, Deblina, if I may ask, what do you work on? Which organization or which business unit do you work on? Well, probably she's thinking on where she's working
I
on.
think
Let me,
I think she's typing. I think she's just typing.
yeah,
Yeah, I just thought
Yeah.
it's better I will talk to you. Hi, Neha.
go ahead.
Sorry, I'm
Yes,
not on video right now,
no
not
problem.
able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Neha, I have I'm a senior technical program manager. I was working currently. I'm on a break, so I
Hmm.
would be looking out soon. So yeah, basically my domain, I did not have an exposure in AI, so
Yeah,
I'm currently exploring all these different types and different examples or use cases you can say, so that I
sure.
can explore further and yeah, take an
Oh,
approach on my next role.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. So one thing that I can recommend from a technical program manager or technical development manager perspective is there are a ton of AI-based solution available from the hyperscalers for developers' productivity. And these are basically very mature AI solutions, especially in two layers. One is when you have to create codes, test codes. The coding is largely replaced by the Gen AI-based solution, where they can quickly explore and develop the codes for developers. That's one layer. And second, that you would really want to explore is those low code, no code platforms, which are using agents underlying those low code, no code platforms, which helps you to bring the entire solution architecture together, what you want to give to the customer. And basically, this works really well when you are trying to automate um, a business workflow or a business process. For example, banks, right? If you're working at the bank and you want to, I'll go back to the loan processing workflow for the SMBs bank, those who are not large scale bank, of course, they definitely have a lot of money to automate. But if you want to target the SMB bank, loan processing still takes a lot of time. And you want to automate that workflow, then you can bring in a low code, no code platform, use your agents which are available through hyperscalers for developer productivities who does the coding on behalf of the developers, help them test their codes, identify those changes which are required. You can use these solutions available in the market to quickly bring in faster development cycle for the customer. I've seen use cases where we have reduced even 3 months of development to just 2 weeks. So they have been extremely useful use cases specifically in the developer productivity area. I hope that answers and helps you.
Yeah, to some extent, yes. Thank you so much, Neha.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Then I think I'm not sure if do we have more questions? And I feel like if people have a very specific answer and you're not comfortable, no problem. I think you can always
Yeah,
reach out to Neha on LinkedIn as well.
sure. It was wonderful. Thank you so much, Arushi, for bringing me to the session.
Thank
It was
you.
great
Thank you
interacting with
so
all.
much, Neha, for doing this and taking
Yeah.
time off your day, honestly. This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for everyone to join. And yes, have a very good evening. And thank you so much, Neha.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice day.
I will be sharing the recording on our YouTube channel. And you can always feel free to join our WhatsApp if you want to connect with Neha one on one as well.
Great.
All right. Thank
See you.
you.